I wanted to catch up on a video because I haven't done one in a while. And for those of you who have emailed me and who have wondered why, I'll tell you, I have kind of moved on and I have lost a little bit of interest in this channel. That's not to say I don't care about it or won't update anymore, but it does mean that in the course of my work life and my personal life, I have to balance where this sort of work fits in. I do still enjoy it, but I run into a problem when I work with people. And the problem is this. People need me either too much or they don't listen to me, and yet they say they need me. So I get people who can't spawn their own motivation to succeed, and they fail. And they keep failing, and there's always some convenient reason for why they get sidetracked from their fasting. Or I give them something and they say, oh yeah, I have to try that. And then they don't do it. And then they come back and they act like I never told them anything. They're just so unengaged that they're unable to actually make changes. But of course, like life in the solar system, we have one planet amidst 8 or 9 that is teeming with life, so much so that anywhere you come on this in this orbit, once you break through to planet Earth, you cannot help but get infected with bacteria. Go to some place like Mars, and there's not one seedling, not one microbe. There's absolutely nothing there. You'd be the dirtiest thing there. And of course, the reason for that is it takes a lot. You either have one, or you either have some or none. That's the way the universe that's the way the universe is. It attracts its like. You have life with life, and you have non-life with non-life. And of course, that's the reason the universe is trying to kill us. We cannot be happy on so much as one planet outside of this one right here, this little mud ball, this little pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam, to quote Carl Sagan's words. But I want to talk today in connection with failure about why. Some people, they're guilty of overcompensating behavior. And this is the sort of thing where people make all sorts of crazy adjustments to their lives in the name of starting their fasting program, their 1 meal a day program, but they can't quite keep themselves centered. So for instance, they say, and have you heard people say this? You've heard people say, well, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to go on these e-cigs. So they take an e-cig or a low nicotine cigarette. And of course, what do? They take twice as many, 3 times as many, so that they're getting the same amount of nicotine if they just smoked regular. But people do this in their dieting. They say, I'll go vegetarian, but then they'll eat non-meat food. So in other words, I just met a young 20-year-old girl the last month, and she says, I'm vegetarian, but she eats Cheetos, she eats all sorts of non-meat foods, but really they're just junk food. Vegans do the same thing. They just start eating junk food that is called vegan junk food, but it doesn't really have a lot of value. And so they don't get anywhere. I'll eat 1 meal a day, people say, but I'm going to eat one huge meal. Well, if you eat enough in 1 meal for 6 meals, then you're not going to lose weight. I'll fast, some say, but take tons of oils to ease the hunger. Well, then you're getting calories from the fat, and just because you're suppressing insulin does not mean you cannot gain weight from the fat. I've said that before. I want to lose weight. I want to do this, everybody says. I'll fast, but I'll have tons of caffeine. Well, then you're going to hurt your heart, and you're going to do something that feels unnatural. Your body's eventually going to rebel, and you're eventually going to stop making progress. Remember, as cardinal principle number 3 is, dieting is a lesser of evil's business. So those of you who are dieting, you need to remember, since you've gotten off the pathways, you're going to have to commit to things that are not perfect. You're going to have to go out of your way to make sure you understand that you can't change the routine of your life beyond slight adjustments. So if you want to eat once a day to take control, you need to make sure that the change you make is something that you would naturally and ordinarily do. You don't want to make a change that you feel is extreme, that you know in 2 weeks you're going to get tired of, and you're going to feel like you're in prison, and you're going to feel withdrawn, and you're going to feel beaten down. You can eliminate foods, or you can take out foods. I don't recommend you do that. I don't recommend you go completely vegan. I don't recommend you go low carb. I don't recommend you do anything that you can't normally adjust for enjoyment. So don't overcompensate. That ends up being the problem with people. They overcompensate, and then like a worthless planet like Jupiter, that's just a miserable gas giant that does nothing except clean out the junk in the solar system so that we can live. I guess it does something. But it's really, you're never going to have success. All the gas giants are just failed stars, and all of the little rocky planets without life on them are failed planets. They're like little protoplanets. They're like in Genesis 1 and 1, where the Earth was described as without form and void. That's what Mars looks like. It's an incomplete planet. It has no volcanism. It has no tectonic activity. It has no magnetic field. It has no potassium, argon in the center with enough iron so that it can actually create a magnetic field that'll protect us from the harmful rays. So all of these fools keep talking about colonizing Mars. Why, you fool? It's just gonna, even if you bring water up there and everything, it's not gonna, it's gonna float off again because the planet's not large enough to, it doesn't have enough gravity to sustain an atmosphere. So beyond a domed off little research station or something, or a little colony, it would not make a very good home. Our planet teaches us that it indeed is special. The same thing is true with regard to successful OMADing. You don't be successful by making drastic, life-altering changes. You make one change, you adjust for what you enjoy, and then you stick with that. And as you go along, and as you find more motivation and success, and you see weight loss, you continue to tweak your style and your approach. You do not go in and make a special grocery list and start cutting out food groups or start buying all sorts of crazy non-foods and thinking you're going to get the edge on things. You're not going to do it that way. I didn't do it that way. I don't know anyone who has been successful. And of course, in conclusion here, the real big deal is that when you look at life in this universe, look at how rare it is. When you see it, it's nothing short of miraculous. Every life form under this, in this ecosystem depends on the planet, it depends on the moon, it depends on the sun, it depends on tectonics, it depends on all of the little variables. Just the same thing is true in your life. Your relationship with your family, your patterns of when you work, when you go to work, when you come home, the foods you like, the time you spend with your kids, all of those variables will complement or destroy your success. Just like one of those planets that's too close to the sun, it's too hot, or it's too far away, it's too cold, or it has an eccentric orbit that keeps it too hot and then too cold. There's always some reason, and that's the way some of you are. You go through life and you are constantly bombarded with all of these conflicts that you can't seem to manage. And the reason is you're trying too hard. You need to agree to a change and stick with it. And please don't be one of these people that says, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to. It's so easy to do that. But it's very hard to actually make a change and stick with it. Picture that guy in your neighborhood, the guy who always walks his dog with the little foo-foo dog with the sweater, and you know, every neighborhood has one. You see the person that just always walks the same time every day, and you think, what kind of life does he or she live? Well, they're always doing the same thing every day. If you can make OMAD your change like that, you'll start succeeding. And yes, there will be many failures because people are not in the right place in life where they will succeed. But guess what? They can succeed. If they can make that small change and say, I'm going to be a person of pattern, I'm going to keep the pattern. It's easier said than done, but if you can do it, you'll succeed. So I'll catch you on the next video.